Me.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Couch Racers Corner's MotoGP podcast. This is episode 10, and we've got a lot to cover. Dennis is not here again, so it's Robert talking for the intro. But Kevin's here like normal. And
Indeed.
and we do have a guest. We have Everett from BARF. His handle is Ducky Fresh, and he's been kind enough to join us this time. Ducky, go ahead.
Say hello.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
But all right,
He knows like a GP racer. They're like bros.
That's right. So yeah, we'll probably have to talk about Karel a little later, just to see if you have any insight from actually talking to him, unlike all of us like haters on the web that just spout off shit and don't have any clue.
I prefer to call him Carol.
I still call him that, but it's actually Karel.
Wait,
It's
what?
Carl? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pronounced like Karel.
Really? Like it's you don't really say the E at all?
No, it's like Karel.
Dude, they don't even they hate vowels. That whole language can't stand vowels. They put a Z where vowels are supposed to be. He should have a Z in his name. Next time we talk to him, ask him why. Kevin wants to know why there's no Z's in his name.
All right.
Get a handle on that.
You'll have to report back on that one. But that's good to know. Now everyone on fucking BARF and whoever listens can actually pronounce his name properly.
There you go.
But all right, Kevin, do we have any surprises this time?
Yes. Good evening. I'm Barack Obama. You know Barack, don't you? The black man with a funny name.
Aha, yes. Luckily, President Barack Obama has taken time away from his busy schedule to sit in and guest host our podcast.
Indeed.
All right. Yeah, good surprise, Kevin. This one's gonna work out great.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
Did Barack watch the races?
Yes.
All of them? Did he watch Superbike too?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, he'll hopefully have some good input then.
Sorry, go ahead.
What's Barack's favorite year of World Superbike?
2001.
Perfect. All right, so let's get started with LeMans for GP. The race was 2 weeks ago. Obviously, Jorge won it and kind of had a.
You might just be bored.
Why would we be bored?
Because it was fucking boring again.
Well, it wasn't boring. It was just boring watching Lorenzo.
What do you mean?
That was one of the best battles we've seen this year.
You know exactly what I mean.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Lorenzo, he's a beast, don't get me wrong. I've said it a million times. He's going to go down as one of the best ever. The guys he beat for his titles are among the best that people, routinely say are the best ever, and he beat them straight up for the titles. But, that get out in front 100% on the first lap, run away with it is just so fucking boring.
Well, he's the only one left too, right? Because I mean, Danny would do it if he was physically able to, and
right.
Stoner's gone, and like Rossi has never tried to do that, and neither has Marquez. So it's just Jorge that's just ruining the season for us. Well, he's not ruining it.
and it begs the question: why can't he do that week in and week out? Why is Marquez so dominant last year, the year before, and even partially this year? Rossi was beating him, and where were the struggles? Was it tires? Was it setup? Was it he was getting secondary parts? Was he wrong in the head?
Or his visor fell off.
Right. Well, I can see that.
He had a better start this season than he did last season.
That's true.
Which is great for his title hopes, and is really the only reason why he's in it at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because when he's on, he's definitely on and he's solid, right? He had an amazing weekend at Jerez, and he had a pretty good weekend. Not as good as Jerez here at Le Mans, but because he wasn't able to dominate the practices nearly as well. But the second that race started, he got a good start and he was just able to pull away. And like I feel like he managed the
Indeed.
gap a little bit, but it just like I really wish we just saw nothing of him during the race. I mean we kind of did, right? We thankfully we got to watch Rossi and Dovi and the others behind them. But
Well, and it still begs the question, the amount of sessions and testing they get, and certain tracks, there's always the debate, Hondas, Yamahas, Ducatis, and obviously Ducati's still playing catch up, but they get what, 3 or 4 practice sessions, and they're 15, 20 minutes an hour. There's so little time to master the setup, and it's almost one of those, you just roll the dice and you hope you get it right, and if you didn't, then you got to take the gamble on Sunday, like Rossi always seems to, and always seems to miraculously figure it out. But
I knew it. 5 minutes in is insinuating conspiracies. Yes.
No.
Yes.
I'm just saying how difficult it is to find and chase the setup, with that limited amount of prep before the actual race, right? So it just kind of goes to show experience and previous sets of data over the years that he's gotten. You see certain riders really dominate at certain tracks.
yeah, I mean like well, but the riders that do good in FP1 generally do have a pretty good weekend, right? Because that usually means that they kind of guessed correctly, or maybe not so much a guess, but they were able
But that's not really true, because the guy who won 40% of the races so far usually does terrible in FP1.
You like how I set you up for that one there, Kevin?
You like that? It was good. It was good.
Yeah, it was perfect. Yeah, so how is Rossi so magical with how is him and Gabu Serra, or however you pronounce the guy's name?
Louis C.K.?
Louis, yes, Louis C.K.
It's weird how Rossi's manager was able to do all that and perform a controversial monologue on Saturday Night Live.
Well, and you look back when he had Jeremy Burgess for his last years with him, and he wasn't pulling those rabbits out of the hat, and that's, I think, part of it is he wasn't, I don't know, maybe pushing the envelope or something, and Rossi sensed it. Or it really, like, someday that will all flush out, and it'll be a really interesting story, I'm sure. But now you see that it's happening like it used to back in his early career. And
yeah, the second Rossi book is going to be way more interesting than the first one.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to have the Lorenzo stuff, the move to Ducati, the total disaster for Ducati, his whole thought process of how to get back, the dumping of Burgess kind of unceremoniously because someone spilled the beans. That's going to be quite the book.
Oh, that has to be 2 books at least. Like,
yeah,
might as well. No way you could pack that into one. But why can't Rossi pull it off in FP1 and keep it going forward like Jorge and Marquez, and even Dovi a little bit, right? What he's never done that throughout his career, right? Like even back when he was dominating and he won like 3/4 of the races a year, he still wouldn't be at the top for all of the sessions. So what's up? What's up with Rossi? Why does he ride like this?
Well, I think, maybe it's not necessarily how he rides, but you think about how Marquez rides, which is just basically, on the limit the entire time. We've talked about how whether to come back and bite him or not. So he's out there pushing as hard as he can the first lap. And then Jorge's, his whole, shtick the last season or two, and, when he kind of perfected it against Stoner, when he was trying to beat Stoner, was that getaway at 100% from the very first turn. And that worked for him against Stoner. So maybe he's trying to find that limit as fast as he can, because that's his whole mode in the race. Obviously, before last year when he crashed and he had some problems that threw a monkey wrench in that plan.
Yeah. So what? It's just the other two, their riding style kind of expanding into practice, whereas Rossi.
Yeah, that's
we
to
know
me that seems the plan. It's not really a Rossi thing as much as it's the other two's riding style.
Yeah, because we've known for the longest time that Rossi really does not give a shit about practice.
Oh, where's my favorite Allen Iverson video?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Practice.
What are we talking about?
Not the game. He's going to die for it.
Says it like 38 times or something.
Don't worry. Even if we don't do a slideshow, we can at least put that up, the meme right there for that little.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, I think he's also been around long enough to what I was saying earlier. Some of these guys have the experience. The track knowledge is paramount, and Rossi's been to every track and knows every bump and crack in the surface everywhere, and so he doesn't have to focus on the little details like some of the newer guys do. He has the luxury of testing multiple setups, preparing if it does rain, testing each tire compound. You don't see him do too much race distance stuff anymore, though. I don't think either. That's kind of interesting, but I think that's one of the luxuries he has afforded to him. Plus, he has really good technicians, so they're really combing through his data probably a lot better than the second and third tier teams, right? They're going to get him a lot more crisp information related to what he gathers. So
that's funny though, because he still does this sort of thing at new tracks too, right? Like his first year at Coda was pretty bad. Argentina has popped up, and he still never pushes hard from the beginning. It's like he can't, even if he's attempting, right, to break that streak and kind of push the limit on a new track, he still just doesn't.
Well, think about that from a strategic championship standpoint. What value does it make to go crash out in the first two practices or even qualifying? He knows, and you've seen it so many times where he starts fifth on the grid, gets a decent start, and comes back to win the race. He's learned over time that if you're just patient, and even if you throw away a race or two, that's one of the pieces of his
Yeah, I mean, both his wins are from 8th.
Yeah, exactly. Bingo, right? So it's like he knows, and he's like qualifying as much as we all. I don't know if you guys watch Supercross too, but you watch Supercross. If you're not the guy 1, 2, or 3 out of the gate, you generally don't win. And usually in MotoGP that holds true. If you're not Yeah,
but that was the entire 800cc era. If you weren't on the front row, you weren't winning.
That's exactly it. But Rossi somehow figured out some comfort in that, and knowing that I don't need to be. Generally, he needs to be in the front 2 rows. But to your point, 8th. I mean, that's incredible, right? Well, show me another rider who's got 2 wins from 8th in the same season. Maybe Marquez in the last 2 years, but pretty rare, I'm sure.
Well, so I think Rossi's wins from 8th will work if it's Marquez and Dovia battling up front. But if Jorge stays on this current form, even at Mugello, he's going to have a really hard time of it, right? Because Jorge will manage to push 100% from the beginning and not burn the tires up and not run out of fuel.
Yeah. And to your point, and what unfortunately to Kevin's dismay is as the season progresses, teams catch up, progress, and those first 2 races you really have a jump on the field. So if you can get your game down, that you have an opportunity to really capitalize on other teams' lack of preparation or
or even maybe Honda and Yamaha weren't quite expecting Ducati to be where it was at. They were fighting for a win that first race. Then you find out that 2 races later, Honda's upping the rev limit and doing some stuff like, we can just up the rev limit. That means that they had kind of an ace in their pocket, or we got to adapt to this, and suddenly Dovi's not fighting for the front. 3 seconds like the first 3 races, but now it's a little different.
That's right. You now know, you've sized up the competition, you know where you need to correct, and I think you look at a guy like Lorenzo and most likely his team, he's now getting kind of stabilized and understands where everyone's at and where he needs to try a little harder, push a little harder. And you even see it with the Aprilia team, right? I think I posted on a thread somewhere going, holy shit, Bautista's in 15th beating Honda Prati racers. What's up with that, right?
Yeah, and you hear that they're supposedly going to have a seamless transmission at this race.
Yep.
Exactly, right? So that's and it's frickin' Bautista, who's he's decent, but he's not a top flight rider. But if he starts beating and sniffing at the top 10, that's going to be huge, right? Because that bike was really a really heavy pile.
Right, that was the talk, that it was the worst bike on the grid by far. Suddenly, I don't know. I mean, you got to wonder if, because of the factory involvement, that maybe it's a better ride 3-4 races down the line than the Honda production bike is.
Well, it was the worst bike.
Exactly. It will be,
because of factory development, we know that it will move forward, whereas the Honda Prati race is going to be exactly the same at the end of the season.
Right. Yeah, I've said it before a bunch of times, but it's crazy to think that because you see how Aprilia entered the grid with an existing team that had Aspar stayed with Aprilia and not been, they'd probably be the factory team with Aprilia.
Yeah.
Yep.
And instead, they got that Honda bike, and it's been somewhat of a letdown.
But yeah, so going back to development though, right? Like, it's funny to bring up Honda, like upping the rev limiter and trying to match the Ducati power and stuff, because I almost feel like they've fallen a little behind compared to Yamaha. Like we've explicitly seen that HRC is trying harder, but their results.
Yeah, I mean, Cal Crutchlow said that from the beginning of the year. The bike was hard as fuck to ride.
Yeah, and more power and a higher rev limit, like moving the power band higher, is only going to make that more difficult.
Yeah, for Marquez, but he'll because that's his style. But for everyone else, and you see it in the results of the production bikes. I mean, look at Scott, the factory bikes. I mean, look at Scott Redding. What the fuck?
Yeah, has he? When was the last time he finished a race in the points? Wait, what do we got here?
So here's one of the thoughts I had too is has the Honda taken the place of the Ducati where they now lack front end feel because they tried to do so much in other areas where it's detracted from that? Because you see Marquez kind of pulling a very stoner-esque, I'm going to ride the wheels off this thing and I don't care about the feel of the front. I'm just going to go until I either bin it or win it, right? And he loses the front every now and then and saves it. I mean,
like that pass at LeMans, that was that was legit insane.
Exactly.
He was gonna crash, and instead he saved it and passed. I mean, he was in the middle of crashing.
Yeah, right, but you don't see anyone talking about front end feel from the Honda camp, and I could ask Karel about that. That would be an interesting one. Hey, how does this feel compared to the satellite Ducati you rode for years? Is it the same issue with grip and confidence in the front, or is it something completely else? I'd be very curious on that comparison.
Karel would
it's almost kind of like the same thing people joke, like Marquez is too good.
Yeah.
Like he can ride around and win problems. Like it's like with Ducati. Well, okay, Stoner, the bike's not doing that great, but you won, 7 races this year. So.
Bingo, yeah. Look how many guys.
Or like when Wayne Rainey was winning on the Yamaha, and Kenny Roberts said like they're not going to listen to you until you stop winning.
We should make a Wikipedia call it the Stoner effect and just describe exactly that.
Right.
It's pretty much what it is. But I don't know if front end feel is a problem. Like Le Mans seems to be a slight outlier because of the conditions. Like we had that massive temperature change for race day, and I think that would have improved grip because there was actually temperature in the track. But obviously HRC wasn't ready for it. But
all the Hondas crashed out.
No,
Pedrosa crashed out on the front, and Cal crashed out on the front.
Yeah, Crutchlow both got a new frame to specifically improve front end feel. So I don't think that we can say that they're not paying attention to it. And both Scott and Cal pretty much just said that the bike wasn't any faster with the new chassis, like on the front end, but it was just more confidence inspiring. And to me, that just screams like, hey, there's a little bit more feel, So, but yeah, obviously with Marquez's new swing arm, and I think Crutchlow got the swing arm for the race, which is weird to just throw it at him like towards the end of the weekend.
That's kind of been what Honda's been doing since the test last year and the postseason test. I mean, Pedrosa and Marquez have both tested a bunch of chassis. That speaking of replacing Ducati, I mean, they had like 3 different chassis they tested, and then they all threw it out. They're on the Sepang 1 chassis.
Yeah, well, but that's why HRC is still going to be better than Ducati, right? Is Ducati's I think, did Ducati get a second chassis for the GP15 yet?
No, I just mean, remember back when Rossi was riding like 4 different chassis, and they took the GP, they made the 1800 and all that, and they were kind of throwing shit at the wall. It just kind of reminds me, like, they're on a lot of different chassis right now. Like, they don't really have a development direction, it seems.
Yeah, but that was the only time that Ducati ever did that, right? Like when Stoner was riding the bike, they would finish the season on the chassis that they started with. And Ducati's kind of back in that direction. Like they made 3 during 2014, which Honda had them beat in the off season after 2014 because I think they brought 5 to one of the Sepang tests. So
right.
Yeah, you're right though. They're completely lacking direction, but at least they're doing some development. So hopefully that'll. I mean, they're gonna have to have it trickle down because they can't have Cal and Redding crashing out of every single race and being the worst satellite riders on the grid.
Well, I think that the Redding's team, they actually carry a lot of weight in the paddock right now with how much they've invested in the junior classes and that, and I think that they're not going to put up with it in the same level that maybe Grassini did and a couple other bikes. They got a lot of sponsor dollars on that bike and on those teams, and a lot invested in Honda across the teams. So there may be some, hey, you guys aren't giving us good shit here.
Yeah. I mean, they at least got the new chassis pretty early. Like, I was kind of surprised that Scott, as like the newest satellite rider, was able to get parts like only one race behind Cal Crutchlow. That's kind of something that Honda did before, is they just keep the rookie on the older spec stuff for as long as possible and kind of have the more experienced riders cycle through the new stuff.
Right. Unless you're Colin Edwards in 2004, and then they just like give you the shittiest bike they can, and they don't ever change it.
Yeah, I'm sure we could find an example of that for every manufacturer where they just kind of screwed someone completely.
I don't know. Yamaha doesn't do that all that much. They play their satellite riders pretty close to the factory.
Colin Edwards and Ben Spies on Tech 3 when the engine was purposely neutered by Yamaha.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think Colin came out at Laguna saying that we're like 1,000 RPM down on the factory bikes and this bike has no power and yada, yada, yada. I mean, leave it up to Colin to speak up, right?
Well, this is a recurring problem with GP, just politics abound, right? And
yeah,
it makes you wonder how some of these lower tier riders would do if they actually got the premium satellite rides. Don't get me wrong, you somewhat have to earn them, but to Scott Redding's point, why didn't he get the ride? Why did Cal Crutchlow get the ride? And I really hate sometimes seeing a guy who's been given every opportunity and just tanks it, and then the other guy who's really on his way up still, he never gets the chance, and then by the time he does get the chance, he's too old or out of his prime or too banged up or whatever it may be. And so that's the one disappointing thing with motorsports at this level, is it's really political and there's so few rides. It's really disappointing sometimes.
And it's funny how it's changed so much. It went from the Spanish thing to Colin Edwards partially got the ride because he's not Spanish.
Yeah.
What a turn of events. And talking about limiting Spanish riders last year. Remember they were talking about the possibility of limiting the amount of riders per country and stuff. But
well, yeah, think about it. If you run the series, right, you're Carmelo, and you're thinking, I've got a traveling circus. And when I go to the United States, I mean, think about what happens when Nicky Hayden retires. I mean, you still go to races and you see all this Nicky Hayden crap, and you just wonder, how are there Nicky Hayden fans? They're just American fans, and they don't really care about anyone else or even really any of the other riders. They just like going to races and they root for the one American dude that's in there. And if
it's like when they went to Argentina and Yanni Hernandez was in there, and they were like, "It's your home race." I'm like, "It's not even the right country. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, exactly.
But that's why he has the better, he has the best satellite Ducati because he's South American.
Well, yeah. You gotta admit that guy seems decent. I mean, he's got.
I'm not hating on it. He's fast and he gets respect for himself. I just mean there's a classic example of Dorna and politics making sure that a rider they want is on the bike. They need him
Correct.
To be there.
Correct.
Dude, your boy Petrucci has 5 more points than he does.
Right, which it makes you wonder, right? Where the hell did that come from? He got a decent satellite ride, and now he's performing on it, and it goes to show. And to your point about the Hondas, it goes to show how balanced the Ducati is for the average rider, and that they've started to solve some of the problems they had in the past. Whereas Honda is kind of going backwards because it's not a balanced enough bike that they can just give it to anybody on a generic platform, and you got a good team to help set it up. You can get going and get some top tens like Petrucci's getting. It's not like that. So what gives, right? That's really
Ducati is.
Yeah, it's not like in 2004 and 5 when Honda was giving everyone a top tier bike. You know what I mean? Not everyone, but that RC211V was the best bike on the grid.
Well, do you guys remember what sort of factory support or technical support did Honda give back in 2004 to 2000?
I mean, Gibernau and Biaggi were basically on factory bikes.
But it's apples and oranges because the electronics weren't as developed, right? Think about where the technology was from electronics were so new and they were so generic, and That's why it was pretty balanced.
Plus, remember they had Alex Barros as a factory rider that one year. The Repsol team was not really the title challenging Honda team, and everyone knew it. It was Gibernau and to a lesser extent Biaggi but tons of cigarette money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the factories got paid, and they without the electronics being as sophisticated as they are now, like they were probably at a comparable level to like a kit box that you can buy for a super bike right now. Not even the top tier stuff, just the stuff that's available to practically everyone. So yeah,
stuff is just simply more generic. Yeah, I mean that's the bottom line. But at the end of the day, the factories generally had the upper hand because they still threw more money at it, and they had better people who knew the stuff, right? So
I remember, we know the data technicians are important enough that at one point Honda headhunted them from Yamaha.
Right.
Yeah. That happened. They literally stole dudes from Yamaha because they couldn't beat Yamaha, so we're just gonna take your technicians.
Yeah, and they're probably and that was what, 4 or 5 years ago now, so they're probably more important this year, at least until July, I think, is the cutoff date. Yeah, so is that not going to be a problem then next year when we all have the spec electronics? Like, you think it's going to be we can make it back to like 2004?
No, because to my point, it's just like being in school and being in whatever, AP Calc or whatever. You're going to have the better students, the better teams are going to hire the better technicians, and they're going to be able to digest the data faster and fine tune it better, right? I mean, that's just
AP Calculus and data technicians?
He's Asian's worse than the whites.
I'm using a layman's example to explain how out of a class of 30, which may be the amount of data technicians in MotoGP, there's 3 to 5 who stand out from the bottom 3 to 5, and it's the same problem, and it's you get what you pay for in life, right? And so Honda's paying their
I agree with that.
big bucks, and the low teams paying theirs not as much. It's that simple. So
that's probably the number of data technicians on the planet that could actually do GP quality stuff too, is about 30, and that's why they deserve the paycheck.
And I don't even really think it's 30.
It might be like 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably like 10. Remember, Ducati, in their wonderful cheating ways, just said, "Fuck it, we'll give everyone our software," to try and get around it because they're awesome cheaters. And then the satellite teams guys said this shit was too complicated. We're actually slower with your factory software than with the spec stuff because it's too complicated. We can't program it.
Right.
Yeah, so HRC will say they have 4 of the 10, right? Because they stole a few from Yamaha, and the Yamaha's got 3 maybe. Ducati has 2. That doesn't leave any for anyone else.
Right. Yeah. And Gigi's like a fucking wizard. You know what I mean? Half that's him.
Well, all the teams have their own technician, like a junior technician who basically takes the data, preps it up, tees it up, kind of looks at it and digests it. And then they have a guy that circulates. I remember when Karel was on Ducati, they would be doing their thing, and then a guy would come in and he'd kind of look at it with them, and he'd basically be the supervisor and say, yeah, here's what I see too, and kind of compare. And it was pretty interesting watching that work. So to your point, there's a bunch of lesser, not master technicians, but the guys just kind of packaging it all up, and then guys rotating through the garages. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so that is why Ducati is doing so well, the satellite bikes and the open bikes, is because they've explicitly said that they're sharing the love with the technicians from.
Yeah, no, not just shared it. They've sent factory technicians to join those teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, whereas Karel was on Ducati, he had 2 guys from the factory, and he had to get a crew chief, and I want to say that guy is with factory Ducati now. And I think his name is Christian something or another. I forget, but it's that was part of the deal. You want to run a Ducati, you got to take our 3 guys: the parts guy, the engine guy, and the crew chief guy. But It wasn't a crew chief because his crew chief was still there, so it was kind of dual crew chiefs. It was kind of weird, but he was also kind of jack of all, I guess. It was interesting, but I don't know how the other teams are really designed, but it's Honda does give, I think, a similar setup now, even though he's on the satellite Honda, or the Prati Honda. There's still a couple Honda guys assigned to that team, but they're not at the same level. It's kind of interesting, as far as I could tell. I haven't seen as much, but
Yeah, well, I mean, based on the Prati results, it kind of seems like the technicians, especially, well, the setup technicians, the electronic technicians are having a much harder time of it than the satellite teams and the full factory teams. So that would definitely make sense. But that's cool. I mean, if Honda's, sending someone over to the Prati team every now and again to help out, that could be good. But based on the
But
results, you know,
it's usually like an inventory man, because what happens is, Honda's got its own catalog of parts, and as you're traveling, you need to constantly replenish, right? So there's one guy who's in charge of constantly maintaining your inventory and making sure your team has what you need. And then there seemed like there was another guy who was really like the chassis dash data guy. And then I think that was it from Honda. But to my point, when Ducati had it, they had three, and it was still a parts guy, then a data guy, and then kind of more of a crew chief guy, which was interesting because Karel already had his crew chief who's been with him since he was in 125s, Marco.
Right.
So it was kind of weird to see two chefs in the kitchen, but it seemed to work out okay. I think they did okay on the Ducati. That wasn't amazing.
Well, he was battling with Cal for Rookie of the Year.
Right, and it's funny. He back then, he would point out, you look at his performance versus Rossi's performance versus Speed's performance when Rossi was on the factory bike, and it was just kind of to his point, and kind of where the politics, I think it bothers everybody really. It would be really interesting to see some of these mid to back tier guys, I think, who all are extremely talented. If you ever go ride dirt bikes or go-karts with any of these guys, they're just all just freaks, right? They just have balance in their brain that the rest of us just simply don't have. So it'd be kind of interesting experiment to put them all on spec R6s or something in the British Superbike series or whatever, right? And just, hey, go get them, but it's not the way it works.
Nope.
No, it's not. So let's cover.
Well, kind of how it works in Moto2 now.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, right? So Karel wasn't very good, and then at the end he finally got a bunch of top fives, and then the last race of the year he won a race, right? And then he took off to MotoGP, and the primary reason was it was just too dangerous in Moto2. It was too risky. The guys there are just ruthless to get the wins. They'll throw it all out on the table. They don't care. And MotoGP is a little bit more disciplined in that sense. So,
I think Moto2's calmed down a little bit. That first year or two were pretty insane, but Moto2 is not the same level of kind of insanity that it was at first.
Well, I don't think that.
And part of that is that everyone's on the same bike. Everyone's on a Calyx framed, CBR 600 with the same everything. It's turned into a spec class, even though you could have any chassis that you want.
Which is that's I think that could be a talking point for a long time. It really makes you wonder, right? It's like you look at MotoGP, you have how many chassis providers, yet you look at Moto2 where it's designed to be just chassis focused and nobody ponies up. Are they too expensive to make? Are they too expensive to buy? Are there just, are the factories, I guess they're not allowed to make Moto2 chassis, right? Or they wouldn't want to run a Honda engine inside of a Yamaha.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone can make a chassis, they just don't want to run the Honda engine.
Right, so it begs the question though, right? Why doesn't Kenny Roberts Jr. or Kenny Roberts rather go make a chassis for Moto2? He's probably just tired of losing money in motorsports, but
yeah,
but it makes you wonder too. I think I was looking at the list the other day, and it's all the same bikes. There's a couple are masked by Speed Up, right? Which is
Sam Lowe's. He won a race on one.
Yeah, right. But it just makes you wonder how everyone's running the same bike.
So it's funny because the reason why everyone moved to Calyx was because the chassis was touted to work in a wider range and was easier to set up. And then Tito has explicitly come out and said the new Calyx frame, the 2015 Calyx frame, is actually more difficult to set up and doesn't work the same as the previous one.
Well, and remember, Marquez rode the Suitor, and at one point that Brattle even said they wouldn't give him the frame that Marquez had. He just wouldn't. It was specially made, and they kind of put all their eggs in the Marquez basket and made this bike that ended up being real stiff and real hard to ride the following year or two. Their results suffered, and a couple guys won. Jordi Torres won on it, and a couple other guys, but you saw Suitor all of a sudden drop down because they had tailored their bike to one rider style.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't working at HRC. Again. So yeah, what do we know? Do like Yamaha, make a bike that everyone can ride, i.e., make a bike that Rossi develops.
Wow. Where's the soundboard? Come on.
I had to move because I had to charge my iPad.
Terrible.
But the soundboard, it's really Obama. He's here.
Do we have? So do we have any? We need to cover. There was so much more.
Obama is here. Hold on.
We should still be celebrating the fact that I'm African American. Such a pleasant surprise to find a well-mannered young black man.
Right.
That likes motorcycle racing.
Exactly.
With turns, with more than just left turns. All right, so Marquez, we actually haven't even talked about him that much, other than the fact that he was losing the front all over the place. He had a good battle with Iannone and Bradley, and Bradley did the same thing that Aodes does. He started he did okay, but then the second push came to shove, he kind of dropped back. So what's up with that? Does he finally lose his seat after this year, or are his results good enough so that he's going to keep it again?
Marquez?
No, Bradley.
No. Yes.
I'm sorry. You're saying Bradley Smith?
I mean it this time.
Yes.
He saw Bradley Smith.
I mean, the kid's riding the wheels off that bike. He's kicking the snot out of pole every time, and he's getting good starts and he's qualifying well. I mean, why would you take that away from him? And they need a Brit. I mean, Redding's not doing it, and Cal's not doing it.
Do you think he's going to be able to hold it throughout the whole season, or do you think he's going to get some confidence sapping incident again? And
don't be thick, all right?
No, I think he's coming into his own after a few years. I can't imagine. I mean, I'd like to think I can, but I can't imagine being through the rigors of that kind of travel schedule and all that comes with that at that age, and then kind of being put into a position that's extremely precarious and everyone talking crap about you, and then still being resilient and holding your own, and then showing people like, hey man, I'm running top 5 in a highly competitive series with new factory entrants. That's
I'm still here. I'm here.
That's pretty. It's just pretty. I think it's impressive. He's making a fan out of me, that's for sure. And I didn't used to really care for him. He's a pretty quiet dude, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, he says some really intelligent things in the interviews, and you can definitely tell that the team has kept him because he's able to communicate and says the right stuff. But he's actually 1 point behind Cal still. So do you think he's going to you think he's going to be able to put it in front of Cal for the rest of the season and kind of hold him off? I mean, I guess with the HRC woes right now.
Yeah, Cal's kind of in a good position to get some love, right? If Danny was in really good shape and Marquez, Cal would just be getting nothing. But since they're both having issues, Cal's kind of one of their last hopes is the way they look at it.
Yeah.
And Cal even basically admitted that was they gave him pseudo team orders.
Oh yeah, Wait, no, he did that at Argentina on purpose, right? It was just hold up Dovi and Iannone and Rossi to let Marquez escape at the front.
Yeah, he said that was the plan. He actually referred to it as the plan.
It's and that's just a shame, really. I mean, it's let the guy go ride and do his thing and let it take its course. But that's motorsports is just getting kind of.
Well, it worked out well for Cal then because it kind of allowed him not to destroy the tires, right? And he was able to hold off Iannone there at the end. So, well, actually not hold off. He was able to get by Iannone into the second to last corner. But that was a while ago. At LeMans he didn't do anything, but what did he do? His foot slipped off the peg and he touched the rear brake too hard and tucked the front out of the Dunlop S's.
Was that? Yeah, he lost. It was weird. It's he lost the rear somehow, but it's how do you lose the rear? But
that's essentially the quote, was that his foot slipped off the peg and
you guys always have some great excuse, which I guess I could believe it, but
yeah,
I thought you were coming in pretty hot into that turn.
We all know, right? Don't stab the front brake.
Why not?
When you're carrying 45 degrees of lean angle minimum.
And I think to your point, it makes you wonder: is Marquez gonna trying to overcompensate to really take the reins back on things and maybe make more mistakes by trying to do that. And that's going to be fun to kind of watch too.
That'll be, well, I wonder if he can have a similar weekend like he had at Mugello last year. Because I kind of want to see him back at the front, like him. I want to see everyone at the front at Mugello. Like,
you will. I mean, think about it. Ducati's done all their testing there. They've got some tricks up their sleeve. Rossi's going to bring it. Marquez is going to bring it. Lorenzo's on form. The only guy.
I still think Ducati's going to cheat. They're going to do some kind of straight-up cheater shit.
Well, like they tested there 3 weeks ago. Like, that's practically cheating. It's within the rules. But Honda.
It's their test track, right?
They're going to run a World Superbike type engine, like it's going to have to only last one weekend. Like, they're going to give Iannone just like a monster. It's going to 300 horsepower.
Wouldn't you? I would do that. I think they should.
They got 9 engines.
The only gamble is you might blow it up.
Well, they
darn. I have 8 more. Marquez only has 4.
You got to finish the race, is my point.
So did
what? Iannone finished races? What are you talking about?
Hey, his shoulder was busted, and he fought with Marquez, and he still finished the damn race.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a stud.
I'm surprised you. That was actually pretty baller. I liked how he dropped 4 seconds in one lap because he was just reeling from the pain and thought about coming in. And the second Bradley and Marquez dove up the inside of him, he was like, "Oh, hell no," and just fought back. There was what 6 changes for that position in one lap. It was nuts.
Yeah, that was pretty intense when they were swapping back and forth.
Yeah, and
it was awesome.
And thankfully, the director let us see it the whole time, right? Instead of just showing Jorge out front.
That is one of the bad parts about MotoGP. They haven't figured out how to do picture-in-picture for the leader. You watch F1 and some other stuff, they do it.
You got to pay for that multi-screen pass or whatever to see whatever screen you want or something.
Yeah, the multi-screen pass allows you to pick and choose what ones you want to see.
And as you can tell, I have not paid for it.
No, fuck that noise.
I would love to know the stats.
Yeah, right. But all right, so Kevin, let's talk about the races that you definitely did watch. World Superbike.
Indeed.
So, where were they at this weekend?
What are you saying?
Donington.
So this is Sykes' playground, and surprise, surprise, he actually managed to pull the double. But the races were pretty good. Ray kind of gave it tried to hold him off and tried to get by him in the first race, and then halfway through kind of pulled back a little bit. And in the second race, Ray had the bucking Bronco of all saves, and managed to stay on the bike.
That was killer.
Oh, I actually missed the first little bit, when he did it, I missed the fact that his feet flew up behind him and came completely off the pegs, and then I saw him out wide, and I saw him spin the tire sideways close to the grass, and just and he saved that, and I was like, oh, that was a big moment, but it wasn't huge. And then they show the replay, and I catch the first bit, and just what? But yeah, so the guy apparently got a bum tire, is what he claims to have said, and fell back to 7th and managed to battle back to 2nd. So he still only lost 10 points for the weekend on a perfect season.
And actually, he still actually extended his points lead to 2nd. Tom Sykes clawed back a couple points, but Tom Sykes is still not in 2nd.
Yeah, exactly. So Haslam passed Giuliano for 4th place in the second race and managed to keep 2nd place in the championship ahead of Sykes. And I'm pretty sure I called it in the Superbike thread that Johnny Ray would leave Donington with more than a 100-point lead, and now he's at
102.
Yeah, 102 points, which is nuts. So
he got 3 weekends in pocket or something like that.
He has 4 straight races in his pocket.
Yeah, he could just not attend the next 2 rounds and still be leading by a point, at least a point.
Right.
Because there's no way that Haslam is going to win the next 4 races. I mean, poor guy, right? Like he starts off the season really well, and then they kind of hit a bunch of tracks that Aprilia has not done well at for the past couple of years, and pushes too hard, breaks himself, and doesn't exactly have like a great weekend. It was kind of cool to see him get 2 fourth places with 3 broken ribs.
I was, the idea that on his kind of bad weekend, Ray, he only gets 2 second places. I mean, that's just unbeatable in the title. You know what I mean? Like his worst race so far, where he admitted they had bad setup and didn't have it. And he rides a bike that he's really crashing, and he still gets second.
Yeah. So when do you think he can wrap it up then? Like someone posted that he could do it at Laguna in July.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the calendar offhand to know when I think he could do it, but I mean, it's already wrapped up.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, you're right. It's already wrapped up.
Because there's no one. I mean, I like Tom Sykes, but Tom Sykes is not pulling a Colin Edwards 2002 and like winning out the last 12 races.
I'm not trying to say this because I would never want this to happen, but I'm just saying, hey, it's racing. If Ray had gone down in that one, potential high side, and he had gotten hurt.
Oh, hey, it's Ray. He crashes.
No. My point is if Rossi breaking his leg, it was out for a month or something like that, and it was miraculous. But to my point, it's racing. Anything can happen. As much as you get that huge lead, I know everyone had that in the back of their mind with Marquez's first years. People would always just think like, this guy's nuts. He's just throwing it all out there.
No, that was only Ernie.
Is he gonna make it? Is he gonna make it out of this? But I'm looking at the calendar right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the 5th from the last round, so I don't know. 5 rounds, he's got 3 in pocket, assuming he doesn't lose a bunch more ground.
For 100 points, so he could skip Portugal and Misano and just head to Laguna with 2 points minimum of the championship lead. So only four races in hand. But yeah, so he's good in Portugal, right? Like last year, what did he do last year? I feel like he won last year.
Here's the better talk track is, what the hell is Johnny Rea doing on a Honda for so damn long? I mean,
that's what I've been saying.
You look at Ginter's this year, and the guy just can barely break top 10, and you can tell he's just cruising around. He's kind of like, it's my number 1 plate year. I'm just gonna go ride this Honda thing and collect the check. He is not giving a shit. But you watch Vandermark go ride the wheels off the thing, and he can barely put it in the top 5, or crash out, or have a technical problem. So it's like, for Johnny Rea to have done as well as he did on it for years, is that the Stoner effect again? And now that he's on a good bike, I would love to see Johnny Rea get the GP.
It's definitely not the Stoner effect because that team, the Tancate team, has legitimately been trying to build a good bike like throughout the years. Like they've actually developed the fly-by-wire system for the Honda all by themselves. Like I'm pretty sure they bought the system.
Still underpowered. It's still underpowered, and he still put it on the box and had doubles. I mean, to your point, it's not a bad outfit. I don't disagree, but it's like you watch him.
It's just the foundation. The Honda is just old,
Right, but Vandermark's not putting it even really on the box.
It was new. He still didn't really do much better.
No, well, it didn't come out of the box very good either. Even in club racing, the Honda was never even the preferred bike.
No, it's not. It's in no way a race bike. Like Honda for their street bikes, they make an 80% bike. It does everything pretty good, but not great.
Well,
nothing.
And you mentioned street bikes. Here's a great tangent. When are they going to make a street legal V4?
They're not. It's never coming out.
It makes you wonder, right? Like, you've got this amazing engine and platform, and I don't even have a bike right now, guys, but if they came out with a RC, 212 or 213 or whatever you want to call it.
Wait a minute. We're on a podcast talking about motorcycle racing, and I'm the only one that owns a motorcycle.
Do you own a baby yet?
No. No, I'm still racing motorcycles. I don't have kids yet.
Exactly. So, I'm on hiatus. But, to that point, it makes you wonder, right, what Honda's strategy is from a sales perspective. I mean, everyone I know under the sun would go buy one. I don't care who you are, whether you're a street only guy, a racer only, both, fanboy. I mean, you would go buy a V4 213. I mean, if they made a street legal 1000cc version, I mean,
Yeah.
all three of us will buy that bike.
They showed it at a motorcycle show late last year, right? So supposedly it exists.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never coming out. I've heard this for so many years in general. I don't go in general section anymore, so I don't know if it still gets talked about. But
No, it does.
It's never coming out.
I'll send you the link when it pops up next time. I give it like a day or two probably.
That's great, Kev. When you have spare time, which I assume you do, find
I don't race motorcycles or have kids.
find all the threads, and someone needs to do a compilation of all the what are they the design bikes that everyone always the rumored bikes. I'll bet if you look over the last 15 years, there's been one every year.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but they
great slide.
actually took a Prati bike and they put headlights on it and they called it the bike that they were gonna make. But whatever. No, we know that their design or their business model is sell a shit ton of scooters in Malaysia.
And Indonesia. I mean, MotoGP is looking to move to Indonesia. I don't know if any of you read about that in 2017.
Yeah.
They sell millions of scooters there.
Yeah. I mean, the Thailand round in for World Superbike was pretty successful, and everyone liked the track. Things were run really well. So supposedly GP is going to go there by 2017 or something. So we're moving in that direction, and that pretty much means no more Superbikes because they're not going to sell over there.
Yeah, and the thing is, in America, to coin the Marxist, we are a mature market. There's not really investment in our market much anymore. They look for emerging markets. Where's Burrow? Someone get Burrow.
Our fundamental problem is that we're a car-based society. It's not European or Asian where it's all really condensed metropolitan areas where, parking your car is non-existent. I mean, we drive 3 blocks away. I mean, that's the thing.
It's still seen as a hobby here, not a legitimate form of transportation.
Exactly. And I thought we were going to hit that back in 2008 where I remember when Dave Stanton was running Suzuki of Oakland, he picked up a scooter line and was like, well, gas is really expensive. Maybe we're going to finally start going that way. And it all has just kind of regressed back to the way it was where it's cheaper gasoline or cheap enough that we don't care, and SUVs are still selling #1 vehicle, right? And it's like, are you kidding me? How's the
fracking, bro? Fracking.
yeah, that's a whole different discussion. But I mean, it's kind of a shame that still hasn't really made its way to the mainstream in the United States. It's
whatever. Yeah. We'll hopefully have Superbike racing for at least another decade or something, so we can keep enjoying this, right? Because even if the bikes go away, I mean, we've got the new R1, right? It's going to be in Superbike next year, almost for sure. It's dominating everywhere else, so I can't imagine.
Well, it's going to be cool. And on that note, you saw the press release that Pole and Bradley are going to race that thing in Suzuka, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
What was the quote someone had? Fast enough to do it, but disposable or something like.
Yeah. Hopefully they can bring in the trophy, but yeah, if they wad the bike or get hurt, who cares, right?
That's actually not to switch off Superbike, but that's actually, I wonder if Pole is more in danger of losing his job than Bradley Smith. Because Bradley Smith is contracted directly with Herb.
Yeah.
Well, the rumor is that he was going to go with his brother at some point, right, to whatever team, and whether it was both of them on Tech 3 or both of them to something or another, right? And then that's also the rumor that the younger Marquez was going to take Danny Pedrosa's spot maybe next year.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Given that
that's not after this year. Yeah, no, that was the early rumor, right? And even Karel said that he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to get in line. And then, but with the performance, it's just kind of like, I don't know now. That's all probably off the table.
The only success that Baby Marquez has had this year is releasing his book.
Right.
I didn't know he wrote a book even. God.
He's got autobiography, bro.
Yeah, it just came out like last week.
Yeah, I don't even want the Cliff Notes version, but thanks.
Yeah, not much to talk about with only.
It's a little toothy.
Yeah. Oh, that was too much.
Well,
But
so
no,
wait a second. Is it too early to start talking silly season?
no, it's never too early.
No, because I think there's a lot of riders in precarious positions.
I just got really excited. I love silly season. That's the best.
I mean, especially with like, well, the rules are going to slowly change, right, to where the factories have to supply a satellite team as necessary. Like spots are going to be up for grab because all the teams now that are kind of comfortable on the production racers are going to realize the bike is shit, and those teams are going to want to move to different equipment. Yeah, Pole isn't exactly setting the world on fire. I mean, Karel.
He is actually the Pole is the first rider in Tech 3 not to have a podium, like since like Colin Edwards, 5-6 years ago.
Oh, I know. I'm pretty sure Ducky wasn't. I lost the $20 to you over Pole not getting that.
Yeah, and Smith got his one last year, and Cal, Dovey, Spees, Colin, everyone was podiuming on that bike at some point, and Pole, he hasn't really taken any kind of step forward from his results last year.
Okay, wait, who was before that? Who rode on Dunlops on Tech 3? Anthony West was on the team for a little bit, right?
The Brit, what's his name? Toslin.
No, not Toslin. Well, Toslin ran when they were on Michelin still. But the Dunlops was...
way before that? Oh, geez, you're really racking my brain now.
Yeah.
He
was a Brit. He had cool hair.
Cool hair?
He rode a Corona bike in America.
Hodgson?
No, not Hodgson.
He doesn't have cool hair. Come on, man.
I don't know. I
That was
thought
a nice
it
try.
What was his name? Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I forgot that Toslin rode on Tech 3 when they were on Michelin's.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah, then they switched to Bridgestones, and he never got along with it.
It did not work.
Tony Elliott style.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, maybe not that bad.
That nice.
All right, so
Like he literally couldn't ride Bridgestones.
We've seen that a few times in the Spec tire era, right? Of just, I mean, even the Ducati didn't work with Bridgestones for a little while there. Well, the more recent Ducatis, and yeah, Toslin didn't work out with tires. Elias didn't work out with tires. Who else had a bad time with tires?
Simoncelli.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, every now and then you see those chunk tires. That's always pretty interesting. And the other thing on the tire note is with Bridgestone leaving, have we seen, I mean, lap records are still getting shattered, right? So are they going to really leave those for Michelin to beat? And it's going to be interesting to see how Michelin tries to tackle that.
Yeah, because Michelin has been instructed by Dorna, by Carmelo, to essentially like reduce the performance to bring the grid closer together. But then they produce these tires that, yeah, even Pirro gets within like a half second of the lap record. Which for a guy that's only racing, I think he's racing CIV Superbike, and he crashed one race and he won the rest of them, so he's leading the championship handily. But he's not at GP pace, even though we get to find out, Kevin.
Yeah, he's not anymore. I was really big on him for a while, and especially that year Speeds was hurt. But he's just test rode too long. The edge is gone.
Yeah, but he's riding at Mugello.
Is he wildcarding?
Yeah, he's wildcarding.
Nice.
Yeah, Iannone has a crack in his funny bone.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, at the tip of his funny bone. That came out a couple hours ago. And Pirro's wildcarding. And it should be a pretty good race.
But how many Ducatis is going to be on the grid then? That's 7 Ducatis.
Yeah, I mean it goes back to like to what 2000s. Actually, when did they have that many? When did they have more bikes than Honda on the grid? Like 2007, 2008?
Wait, so they're going to have 2 factory bikes plus Pirro plus the 2 Pramacs and 2 Aventias.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, they're literally have that's 8 bikes.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
If you can't beat them, just outbreed them, right?
Right.
However, take them out. Who's
right, Edward the Longshanks.
Here's your cheating. Yeah, here's your cheating.
Yes.
Who's going bowling ball style? Who's pulling up Bautista?
Yeah, well, because who would they take out? Because it'd be Spanish guys, so who cares?
Yeah, the whole pack.
That would be sweet. Just give them all the extra soft and qualify in the front row, and then just straight park it at the start.
How cool would that be? It wouldn't be cool, but it'd be cool.
It'd be almost as cool as when they all started in pit lane that one time.
Oh, that was great. That was so weird.
It'd be less dangerous though than that one.
That was pretty
Yeah,
bad.
I think that's what I want to have. I just really want Ducati to do some sort of tomfoolery.
Well, did you guys look at the forecast? I'm looking at it right now, and I don't know. I think this is it.
No.
It's saying today it's supposed to be raining.
Enlighten us. What does it say?
It's saying Thursday, 71 degrees is the high, 51 is the low. But it's supposed to be raining today.
Well, that would only improve the chances of a Ducati win if the first couple of days are green and wet track, because they just tested there. They have their setup.
Yeah, it'll warm up through Sunday at Sam, but it doesn't get very hot. It's the highest is 76, low is 56.
Oh,
cloudy.
That's
should
still
be okay.
a temperature of like 100 in the Italian sun, so it should be pretty good conditions.
It would be interesting if the rain picks up, but yeah, which I don't want a rain race at Mugello. I don't think. I want to see a good heads up, see what everyone can do.
Yeah, of all the races, Mugello's the one. Like, I kind of want to see rain races lately. The past couple of years, I don't just kind of feels more, I mean, between Marquez's kind of wild style and Jorge's total inability to do anything in the rain, it kind of makes it a little more like, oh my God, anything could happen. But Mugello, let's just I really wanted Italian to win, so they stormed the track while racers are still on it, and they got to revert to previous laps to see who gets like 8.
Yeah, that'll be the day. All right, guys.
What do you mean that'll be the day? That already happened.
I know it already happened. It's not going to happen again. There's no way.
In 2006.
It's not going to happen again.
No, it's going to happen. I know.
They
told me.
How do you know? Who told you?
The Italians.
The Italians told you?
They called me.
All right, so who's your pick, guys, for MotoGP and Moto2?
Moto2, okay, whatever. GP first. I'm going Dovi, Rossi, and Jorge.
You're picking a Dovi win?
Yeah. I'm picking the Dovi win.
No, I'm going Lorenzo, probably Marquez, probably Rossi.
Yeah, I'm going Rossi, Lorenzo, Dovi.
Oh, man.
Oh, come on.
You're on the Ducati bandwagon.
I think Marquez is going to have some problems with that crest on the main straight before you enter. They got kind of some entry problems. I think the Ducatis, they got the setup and they got the extra fuel for a track that's not that thirsty anyway, so they can really jack that up. They just tested there. That's probably what they fucking tested. And
there's not enough straights for the Ducati to stretch its legs. The Honda spin up and the Yamaha in the turns, they're just going to just crush that. The bike still, isn't the chassis of those other two.
But it turned so much better than the last one, and they didn't do like too bad before.
Dude, he's got 4 podiums in 5 races.
Yeah, the bike turns.
It doesn't do mid corner like the Yamaha. Still, you watch that Ducati behind the Yamaha at LeMans. Go rewatch it.
No, but
go back to
Qatar. Go look at the onboards from Rossi. The Ducati at Qatar had more mid corner speed than Rossi in a lot of places. It was actually holding tighter lines for like half the lap.
Yeah.
And that track is more like Mugello than LeMans is, because LeMans is like
I have to rewatch that
point and shoot. But either way, all right. So does Marquez crash? And if so, what session?
No, I don't think he crashes.
Nope.
Oh, over the weekend? The weekend?
Over the weekend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, in the weekend? Yeah, he's going to crash like 6 times.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably in qualifying. I'll bet it's in qualifying. My vote's qualifying.
I think he's only going to go down once, and I'm going to put it in FP2.
Yep, I think he's going to crash in FP3, and he's not going to make it. He's going to have to go through Q2.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
that's my guess. He's crashing in FP3, and he has to go through Q1 to get to Q2.
Wait, so
Get
that means he's going to crash early in the session and not be able to get back out because his first lap or two will probably put him into QP2.
Which is true.
No. Stop raining on my parade.
Yeah, we need an over/under on if Marquez goes to FP2. That's a pretty wild bet. I don't think I'd be betting the farm on that.
No, I definitely straight to QP2 on my end.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to bet against Rossi when he has 2 wins, all podiums, and he again I go back to that Coda podium. He got 3rd at his worst track on the calendar by far. And he's got 2 wins, a second. I just have a hard time thinking that if he can do that well at his worst track, and is he going to win at one of his best tracks?
No.
I don't know if I call this one of his. It is one of his best tracks. It's not his best track though, and I think that Jorge's form is going to be really hard to beat.
Kev, you come up with a bet, and I'll bet you that Rossi won't win Mugello.
Huh. All right, I'll think of some kind of bet.
Yeah. Something
All right.
good.
And on that note, do you have anything else that you really want to throw at everyone right now? Anything at all? I think we're
Me? No, because my computer X'd out. Obama had to go.
I'll throw one out that's a little bit just kind of random, and this goes. It was funny because Dennis Budman posted on the forum about Bruno Circuit being in jeopardy, and it's funny because when I went to Austin, I actually was talking with Karel about it, and I don't know,
Hold on, Obama does have something to say.
Black folks are savages, and any contact with them breeds infection.
Wow. Controversial, Obama. Controversial.
And back to Czech politics.
Well, it's not just that. I think it's politics for the series as a whole, and it makes you wonder about other top level motorsports. But I don't.
Wait, politics?
I think Democrats are wrong.
I don't think anyone caught that the CWM team had 12 employees of the sponsoring company CWM, which is I guess some
so it's
brokerage firm or something, get indicted, and yet CWM still got the sponsorship, and that's all been kind of swept under the rug. But that was just like the Paul Bird team and some others. There's a lot of money laundering that goes on in that series, and it's pretty, behind the scenes stuff that isn't really.
Well, remember it happened. Remember when Sete Gibernau returned for that one first 5 races for the Franco Hernando team, and he was on a team that was basically laundering an African dictator's money from Equatorial Guinea. It was like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm. And so it makes you wonder, right? You look at, how the hell are 20 teams on this grid and justifying that expense to run around an 18th?
I agree with that.
Food for thought. So I just was wondering kind of what was going to happen to more of the CWM team, and I know there's some stuff with the Bruno Circuit. I don't know the details. I just think there's a lot of conflict and money stuff going on there. I don't know exactly what it is, but
I think CWM is still on the bikes only because they paid up front.
Oh, you think they paid through the year?
Yeah, or they paid a large, that was one of the a portion of the rumor was that they paid a large portion of the money up front so the name would remain on the bike. I think the team has enough money to make it through the whole season, but I'm not sure. They're not as bad as Drive M7 with Nicky Hagan, right? Like that team, there was a huge miscommunication, and they definitely didn't pay up front. So when they showed up in Qatar, it was like, oh, okay, we got to put duct tape over these stickers.
It wasn't the miscommunication. It was those sneaky Asians.
These Asians worse than the whites.
Dang, Obama.
And on that racist comment.
Oh, wow. Only a BARF Razor's Corner podcast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll see.
I will make slow motion sex right now.
All right, guys. That was a good ending note. I really hope that Bruno can stay on the calendar because that track is a motorcycle circuit, and we do not need to replace it with a Formula One Herman Tilke circuit.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Completely agreed. Been there. It's amazing. So
Yeah. I mean the
Yes.
hillsides, the corners, like everything about it. I mean I want to go over there and ride the bike. Unfortunately, I ride a 600 and I don't feel like I'll make it up the hill. So.
oh, you'll make it up the hill, trust me.
But all right, guys, I think we're
Cool.
good.
Good
Everett,
times.
Thanks so much for the great work you've been doing.
yeah, Everett, thank you very much for coming by. We will probably have you on again later. And enjoy Mugello this weekend.
Oh, I have to stay up for that one.
All right,
A
guys.
fucking Eskimo.
Everyone,
Bye.
thanks for listening. Take it easy.
All right. Later.